Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm sharing another easy, delicious dessert recipe with you guys. Today we're gonna make some lemon and raspberry cupcakes, and we're gonna top it off with a delicious frosting that we're gonna make from cream cheese, mascarpone cheese, and heavy cream. So let's get started. I'm gonna show you everything we need and we'll get right into it. All right, for the cake batter, we're gonna need some very basic yellow or white cake ingredients. So for that, we have all-purpose flour. I have some granulated sugar. Butter is at room temperature and it's unsalted butter, but make sure you don't melt your butter. I have buttermilk. If you don't have buttermilk, that's totally okay. Just use some whole milk and salt and baking soda. 1 egg at room temperature, a lemon that we're gonna zest and use the juice, some fresh raspberries, and here I just have a few tablespoons of all-purpose flour that we're gonna dust the raspberries in before we put them into the batter. So that's for the cake mixture, and let me show you what we're gonna need for the frosting now. And now for our delicious frosting, I have some powdered sugar, and we're using 2 types of cheeses in this frosting. So first I have cream cheese, and this is, again, it's been sitting at room temperature. And then we're also using a mascarpone cheese, and this is pretty much like an Italian cream cheese that's just a little lighter than just a regular cream cheese. And then I have very cold, heavy cream. So, all right, that's for the frosting. We're gonna set that aside and we're gonna work on the cupcakes first. All right, so in a small medium bowl here, I have the butter. I'm gonna add the sugar to this, and I'm just gonna use a handheld mixer, and we're gonna cream this until it's really light and fluffy, and that can take up to 5 minutes. All right, once it looks like this is what you want it to look like, kind of nice and creamy. Okay, I've got my lemon here that I'm going to zest, an entire lemon. And this will give us that amazing lemon flavor with the lemon juice. And just make sure you don't get any of the white part, just the yellow part. That can be bitter. Okay. Now I'm gonna cut this and squeeze the juice. Okay, I'm gonna juice this lemon. Okay, we're gonna add that 1 egg in there and scrape down the sides as needed. And now we're gonna mix this. Okay, to the all-purpose flour, which I have in a separate bowl, I mixed the baking soda and the salt. And just give it a good whisk. So I've got the all-purpose flour, I've got my wet batter, and I have the buttermilk. Now we're just gonna alternate the flour with the buttermilk and incorporate everything in the batter. All right, this is what the batter is looking like. I'm gonna set this aside and we're gonna cut the raspberries. Okay, here I'm just cutting the raspberries into large chunks like this, because we don't wanna put the entire raspberry in there. And if you don't want the raspberries, you can definitely just leave these out. Okay, once you chop up your raspberries, put them in the flour. And we're doing this so when we add these to the batter, they don't sink to the bottom. Though the batter is a little thick, it shouldn't happen, but sometimes that can happen. So you want to just lightly dust these like this. And now we're going to add them to the batter. Okay, and now we're not gonna use the hand mixer to incorporate all these raspberries. You're just gonna use a spatula and just gently fold them in because you don't want all of them to break. And if you use the hand mixer, the entire batter will just be red. So just gently fold it in like this, just so they're mixed a little well. Okay, I think that looks good. Let's get them in the cupcake liners. I've got my cupcake pan right here, and I've just lined with some cupcake liners. I never try to make cupcakes without liners. They're gonna be really hard for you to take them out. And then you can do two things. You can use a tablespoon or you can use this cookie scoop. I'm gonna put 3 of these scoops of batter into each of these liners, or you can use the ice cream scoop. Just make sure you don't fill the liners too much, because when they bake, they can overflow and then still be undercooked in the middle. Okay, and I'm just lightly spreading these out so they kind of bake evenly. They already smell so good. I can't wait till we look at them once they're baked. So I have my oven preheated to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. I bake at that temperature so they don't rise really quickly. But just keep an eye out. All ovens just have different temperatures. So you could do 325 or you could do 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're gonna put them in there for about 25 to 30 minutes and then we will check them. All right, the cupcakes are in the oven baking, and we're gonna start on our frosting. The frosting is really easy. The first thing we're gonna do is, I have a small bowl here, and this is heavy whipping cream that is really, really cold. Make sure this is not at room temperature. If this is at room temperature, then you're gonna have a really hard time whipping this up. So I have that whipping cream, and I have some powdered sugar. Now, powdered sugar can also be called icing sugar or confectioner sugar. All 3 things are pretty much the same. So we're gonna add this to the heavy cream, and then we're gonna give it a few minutes, about 3-4 minutes, and we're gonna whip this up till it has stiff peaks. And I'm just gonna use my hand blender for this. Okay, this is what it looks like after a minute, and I just stopped for a second just to show it to you. See how it's thickening up? This is still not what we want. I'm gonna keep mixing this for another minute or so. Okay, this is what it will look like. You don't want to over whip this either because it can split then. So this is what the texture should be looking like. Okay, let's put this aside. Okay, in a bowl, I've got the mascarpone cheese and the cream cheese, and we're just gonna quickly mix this up. You don't want to over mix this. Make sure it's at room temperature. Okay, moving right along, I have the whipped cream here. So now what I'm gonna do is take a little bit of the whipped cream, and you don't wanna do this with the handheld mixer. You're just gonna gently fold the whipped cream into the cheese mixture. And the reason why you wanna do this by hand is because all that air that we have incorporated into the heavy cream, if you just use a hand mixer, it's just gonna deflate it. So we want this frosting to be really nice. And when we frost the cupcakes, we want that to be really easy, and that's the way to do this. So just take a little bit at a time, fold it in with a hand, with just a spatula. So this is called folding. See, I'm just gently mixing it in, and it'll take a few minutes. The cheese mixture alone is really heavy and thick, so that's why we're mixing this with whipped cream. Get it at the bottom. Okay, our delicious frosting is done. I'm just gonna clean up a little bit. Our cupcakes are still baking. Once they're done, we're gonna let them completely cool, and then I'm going to show you how to fill a piping bag, a pastry bag with the frosting, and I'm gonna show you the tip I'm using. In the meantime, you can just place this in the fridge, and I'll see you in a little bit. All right, once your cupcakes bake, you want to take them out of the cupcake pan and let them completely cool. You can cover them, keep them in a container. Just make sure you are not decorating warm cupcakes. That's usually a big mistake many people do. They try to work with a warm cupcake or a cake, and the cake can just break. So they have completely cooled. Now I'm going to show you how to fill a pastry bag, and we're going to get to the fun part, and we're going to start decorating these. Okay, here I have a pastry bag, and as you can see, I've cut the tip, and I'm using a star tip here. There's so many different decorating tips that you can find from any craft store. I have a lot of them from Wilton, so whichever standard size you like, you can use this. This is a star tip. I'm gonna drop this in the bag, and then I'm gonna put the bag over this glass, and this is gonna make it really easy for us to fill the pastry bag. And fill it as much as you can. And then you want to lift up the sides, pull it up. It just kind of makes it easier, and then you just want to push it down till you see some of that frosting coming through. Now we'll start decorating. Okay, you just want to apply gentle pressure. Move your hand in a circular motion. Just let it go. Alright guys, if you don't have a piping bag, that's okay. You can just use a butter knife and just kind of spread it all across. Like this. The last thing we're going to do is top all of the cupcakes with a fresh raspberry.